But I think this is a good time to kind of take it from here and give it over to Joe if you wanted to demonstrate some of the cool stuff with EasySub. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Am I demonstrating or am I just talking about what the product is?
I think you could do either.
Okay. Well, firstly, thank you again to US Cutter for having me on the show, and I'm Joe with Siser North America. For those that don't know what we are, we do a lot of the heat transfer vinyl and the easy PSV that you may have seen around. US Cutter carries it all. And newly added is our very almost infamous EasySubli, because right now we're in the teaching and educational phase of what this product is all about. So if you haven't heard the hype yet, we have just launched a heat transfer vinyl that you can print on with your Sublimation printers. So more specific is when we launched EasySubli a couple weeks ago, we've been working very closely with, I'm going to try to just move this over, with Sawgrass printers. So when we launched that, we've kind of catered to a specific market, and with these smaller desktop sublimation printers. I know there's a plethora of different types of sublimation printers. That is something that we can always talk about later on in the future, but when we launched this product, we were catering to these Sawgrass printers, the SG400, the SG800, and then also with the launch of the EasySubli, we also came out with these EasySubli inks that Sawgrass has made for us for this product. Now, this is the optimal situation or the optimal setup to use the EasySubli product. So basically what this product is this is a box of what it would look like. It comes in a sheet size as an option, and it's an 8.4 by 11 inch sheet of EasySubli. And what this product is it's just a flat white material that you can put directly into your sublimation printer, your Sawgrass, which I have loaded up here. And I can take you through a quick demonstration to show my screen. I think, can I switch over? How do I switch over to that?
To which one?
To where I can show my screen.
So you did just, so right now we can see your screen.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Okay. So you see my Silhouette Studio?
Yep.
Okay, so this file right here, I have already set up in my design software. So I have these two files, or two different logos, already ready to go with my crop mark, all set up to go print and cut with my Silhouette. So basically, what I had to do was go and set this up with these crop marks in order to read my cut file. I have my vector shape around it, and it's sized to where I want to be for my print. So the next thing I'm going to do is send it over to my Sawgrass, but this is where we recommend this Virtuoso Print Manager. So this VPM right here, when I double click on that, it's going to bring up the actual print manager program that is going to let me select the profile that we're recommending for the EasySubli. So once this loads up,
as far as software preference, just to comment in on this, I don't personally have any software preference. I've used Silhouette, I've used Vinyl Master. I haven't used Surecuts a lot that much, but I think they all kind of have their benefits. They all have some of their drawbacks that make one better than another. It's really just personal preference.
Exactly. And I can agree with that too. The one thing that we just want to stress and be careful with this product is the amount of saturation that tends to happen with the EasySubli. So with this profile for the EasySubli inks and the EasySubli vinyl, this is already set up for this product. So when I send this over to my printer, it's going to have the proper ink limitations so that it's not overly saturated on the product itself. Now, you're going to notice a difference between every software you print to the EasySubli, and I do believe US Cutter Haley has some examples of what that's going to look like through different products. But simply put, this is what we're recommending for the optimal outcome. So once this is set to go, like I have here, all I would do is hit print, and then is this switched back, Haley? Can you see the printer now?
Oh, I can see it. Yeah. Okay. It's showing your webcam over top of the screen. That
Okay.
you see.
Okay. Awesome. So now the Sawgrass is printing out currently what I just sent to it. And I'm set up with the EasySubli inks. That's a whole nother thing. I know we probably have a few people in here that are using the Sublijet inks and stuff like that, and we'll get to those questions later on. But according to the poll, a lot of you are using the Silhouette Studio too. So this is the process we're recommending for if you were to use one of these cutters.
And no, the chat isn't going to appear. So this chat here is not going to appear in the rebroadcast for the recording and everything like that. You'll have the opportunity to comment or anything like that on the YouTube video as we get that out. And you'll have any of the audio that goes through, but none of the questions in chat.
Okay. So there's my print. As you see, I have my registration marks. As you can tell, the colors are a little bit muted, and that's okay, because you'll notice once we get our print in. And so I'm just going to set this up onto my Silhouette mat. This is what I'm doing right now. And there I have it on my mat, ready to cut. I'm going to load it into my Silhouette. You want to be careful not to touch the actual registration marks or anything on there because the ink is wet. So if you touch that, it ends up smearing it a little bit, so you want to be careful on that. And then once you go back to cut it, now in your Silhouette Studio, do not touch your design. Don't move it. Leave it as is. And when you go to send it, I already have a pre-made EasySubli setting right here, but these are the recommended cut settings if you want to write these down for the Silhouette Studio. So your blade is going to be at a 3, your speed is at an 8, your force is at a 15. Now I still recommend doing a test cut, but we already have this pretty much dialed in, so I know I'm going to be good. And then from there, you want to make sure you send as is. You do not want to mirror it. If you're used to our regular heat transfer vinyls, you know you normally have to mirror those. But for this, you send as is. Now, cutter's just going to go through, read the registration marks.
And you might want to make sure, if you guys can't see Joe, just make sure you have the webcams on for the presenter at the very least.
Yes. This is new to me too. I've never really done one of these this route, so thank you again for everybody that is tuning in for this one. All right, so that's just going to cut. This is going to be my cooking show, speed up the process. So I have another example here that I've already cut out. And again, your next step is going to just simply be weeding away your excess material. Okay, so now these are two separate designs. Now the question happens all the time that if this was one design and I had two images or multiple attributes to an image, how would you be able to get this from the backing to the garment? Because remember, the backing side is where the adhesive's at. So you need to be able to lift this off of this backing to get it to your actual garment for application. Now, in this case, I have a single piece or multiple pieces that are separate designs, so I don't need to worry about masking or anything. I can simply peel this off, and now I can go over to my garment, lay it down, and press it, which is what I'm going to show you. But if you did have multiple pieces, there is a mask that we also have available here, which is called the EasySubli mask. And I know it's a very creative name, but it's very important to use this mask if you're using the EasySubli. The reason why is this mask is formulated, it's a silicone-based mask. Our other masks that we have for other print and cut heat transfer vinyls is a polyester base. And if you know things about sublimation, polyester and sublimation inks, they tend to draw out the ink. So with the silicone-based mask, what we have here, the EasySubli mask, is it does not take the ink out of my transfer. So this is why it's very important to make sure you're using this mask if you need it for the EasySubli. But in this case, again, I have a single piece, so all I had to do was peel it off of its backing, and now I can lay it onto my garment. If I pull this up, Haley, you can see that, correct?
I can.
The heat press?
Yep, I see it.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to actually have to probably take my headphones off as I set my garment up just to show you. So this heat press settings here, I am at 311 degrees. So this is the big benefit about using the EasySubli is if you're familiar with sublimation, you're somewhere at 400 degrees for 60 seconds. But in this case, I'm only at 311 degrees, and I'm going to press my EasySubli transfer. And remember, look at the colors. I know they look pretty dull right now, but now I'm going to press this EasySubli transfer for only 15 seconds at a medium pressure.
So the mask, Joe, just to clarify, you would only be able to use that once, correct?
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of at your own discretion. Let me give the big reveal real fast. But let me see if I can pull it up to the other camera. Okay, no. So as you can see, look at how much, oh, if I can line that up correctly. All right, there we go. What do you think of that? Now, as you saw, the colors were a lot different when it initially printed.
Some people
15 seconds at 311. I'm sorry?
Some people weren't seeing the webcam, so did you want to watch, did you want to set that up in front of the press cam if you could, just to show them as well? I think they have their webcam settings off. And just for anybody that can't see the webcam right now, if you look at the top.
In front of the press?
Yeah, in front of the one that's showing the press. If you just look at the top of your screen, you should see where it says everyone, or it should say view who's talking, hide webcam, view presenter, anything like that. You should also see a webcam thing that's going to tell you where that webcam is. So it's going to say either hide all webcams, top, left, bottom, right, anything like that. So make sure that those settings are allowing you to see that.
Mm-hmm. And these fluorescent lights are really giving off like a crazy white balance on it. But yeah, that's more or less the idea of it. So just to show, you know, again, quick application, 311 for 15 seconds. All it takes, even if you don't have a heat press, you can still use a home iron, you can still use the Cricut Easy Press, whatever you currently have. If you have this setup right now, ideally we're recommending using a heat press. And that is, again, for the process of printing directly onto the EasySubli product, just exactly what I just showed you from A to Z. Like, that is how the process is going to go. Now, later on, we're going to come back and I'm going to show you the two-step process we're going to show later. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but were there any questions on that, Haley, or did?
No, so I mean, Addis is answering a lot of the questions as we go.
Okay.
And I think I do want to make sure that we give ourselves time for the dedicated quick Q&A at the end, because I think some of those other questions might be answered by a couple of the videos that we're going to show on our end.
Okay.
So I can take over and go to that piece if we're ready for that.
Sure.
Okay. Let me see if I can make myself the presenter. Or you have to. do that for me? No, I can do that. So let me make sure that I'm setting this up as the right screen. You guys should be able to see my screen now. That's correct. And I'm actually just going to leave it as just the screen. I don't think I need the webcam for it. But I'm first going to show you guys how to kind of set up the basic Siser edition for your needs on the printer. So the first thing that you guys might have noticed is that we were using the Virtuoso Print Manager. And that one might, if you already have a Sawgrass, is probably already going to be set up for your Sublijet HD projects. So when you go in, you're going to launch the Virtuoso Print Manager. You want to open it up from the bottom. You can see it says printer is not ready, status online. Just go click that arrow. You're going to go up and right click on the Virtuoso Print Manager setting. And you're going to go up to Options. And then you're going to go to Edition. And you'll see that Edition for us already has Siser, but if you don't have that Siser yet, you want to go to Enable New Edition. You're going to go to this. You're going to see this screen, Activate Edition. You're going to just type in Siser, S-I-S-E-R, and then you're going to hit Apply. That's going to give us an error message and tell us that it's already here because it's already activated for us, but it's also going to select the Siser Edition for us here. So you can see when we go back in, go into those options and go into Edition, Siser is already selected and we're good to go. So that would be that function there. So we're then able to then take that and set it up to, if it lets me leave the screen, go into the Virtuoso Print Manager. Now, I also want to show you guys just generally how to load your printer. So this is actually a video of the loading of the EasySub vinyl. So the vinyl is glossy on one side and it's kind of matte on the other. You want to make sure you're loading it with the glossy side up, the shiny side up. That way you're getting your print right. For me, I actually had to kind of finagle it a little bit and get my hand under that to make sure it was not going to crumple the vinyl. You can also load this one sheet at a time if you want to, and the printer will work with that. It's actually how we did a couple of the prints that we had today. For the Green Star paper, which is for more of that two-step process, the regular sublimation aspects of the EasySub ink, you can do that here as well. So you're just going to open up the printer. Green Star paper, when you get it, it's going to have the kind of cardboard protector on either side, and then you can take those off. You'll see that there's two different sides of the paper. So one side is going to look a little more dull, and the other side is going to look a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more white. So just make sure that you are putting it with the brighter side down, so that dull side kind of up. And it's pretty easy to tell. It's a little hard to tell from the video, but when you do have the Green Star paper in front of you, it's a lot easier to tell which one you're using. And again, you just load that in, slide it closed, and you are all set up to go. And then I also wanted to demonstrate contour cutting, just a video of it for what we used was Vinyl Master, and we actually used a LaserPoint 3 cutter for us. So for this, you can load in a lot of different files. We're actually going to go into Import, File, and we're going to pull up a PNG of a unicorn image that I really liked and worked with a bit to try to get it right for this. You can use SVGs, you can use JPEGs, anything like that. So once you have your image dragged and dropped, you're going to go up to the little apple in Vinyl Master, Contour Cut Wizard. And for this, it's going to help you build that contour cut out. So you can see you have your marks and everything. So you want to build that. It's going to say image detected. Do you want to include the auto trace? You can go to your trace. You can move with your smoothing, your tolerance, the minimum size. We actually went with a very detailed cut. So you can see you can adjust the outline percent a little bit. That's going to tell the machine where to cut. We went really tight because we wanted to make sure we were getting those details, as you can see, like the eyelash there, making sure those were really close cut. We're going to save that as a PDF. We're going to take that PDF and we are then going to print that. So we're going to load up that PDF here in just a sec on this video, and we're going to send that to the Virtuoso Print Manager. So obviously that's our regular Office folder or printer. We want to send it to the Virtuoso Print Manager, which is then going to communicate with the Sawgrass printer, get all of our settings the way that they need to be. So pull that over and we can show that. As you can see, we set up the Sawgrass EasySub and the EasySub inks. Not going to mirror the image because it's going on with that mask and you don't want to mirror it when you're doing that. So that's going to go ahead and print from the EasySub inks that we have here. So that comes out. The next step, obviously, you want to cure that image a little bit. So we do recommend like about 2 minutes under that heat press, let the image cure on that vinyl. It's going to give you a nice bright image when you go to print this out. and then you go and you set up your contour cutting. So moving your origin point is what we're showing here. You set that up so that it's good to go, and then you're going to allow your printer or your cutter to contour cut this image, and that's going to pull away a lot of that white because that's not what we want. We want to make sure that we're getting the image itself and not that white. One thing that I did want to mention when you're going in and you're setting up your contour cutting is just making sure that you have the precision that you need for any of those small details or anything like that, because then when you go to weed, it's going to be a lot easier because you're not adding a little bit of extra white or losing some of the detail of your image just because of the restrictions of a cutter not being able to get what you needed out of it. So you can see it works really quick and goes through. I believe we sped this up just a little bit as well to give us a bit of a better quality for you guys. Weeding, we went through and weeded this one. There's a lot of small details here that we didn't want to lose, so just make sure this is a static backing, so it's going to be a little more difficult than the basic adhesive backing that you might be used to if you're used to a lot of like Siser EasyWeed. But if you can think of like the Featherlight kind of backing, or something like that, or some of the PSVs that you might have used for adhesive vinyl. So just making sure to take the time and pull up that detail when you're weeding is something that I would definitely recommend from my experience with the stuff. And then this is using that vinyl mask. So you take your mask, just basic like you would normally do for any kind of adhesive vinyl, making sure you're squeegeeing it to really pull up that image is something I would definitely recommend. And then when you're working this, just making sure you're going from a large section to try to get up as much detail as you can and being careful not to lose your detail as you pull this image. From my experience with this design specifically, it goes from that kind of big section to some smaller sections in there. So I had to be very careful that I didn't just accidentally lose the eye or lose the nose or anything like that. So I really worked that to make sure that I wasn't going to lose those details as I pull everything up. One thing that I personally do whenever I'm working with any kind of HTV is actually take some scissors after the fact and I'll cut around the backing. So in this case, I actually trimmed the mask of the design once I finished getting the mask up to make sure that I was going to get the least amount of scorching if there was going to be any scorching from your heat press. I didn't notice any on this design, but the other thing that I did to help minimize that is going to be using a smaller platen with the heat press. And I used a heat pillow under this that was just big enough to get my design. This material that I'm working with here is actually a 90% cotton, 10% poly, so it does apply to that. Making sure to throw a Teflon sheet again over top to help minimize that scorching and keeping the zipper off the press so that it doesn't affect that at all either. So I went ahead and pressed that. It's going to be 311 degrees, 10 seconds at a medium pressure. And once that was all good to go, ended up having that pressed there. There's a cool story with this design, actually. It was one that I worked a lot with, trying to get it initially for some regular vinyl. And we're going to show some close-ups of that if you guys can see in the video. So I went ahead and peeled that, but I do have it here as well. So this design was one that I had worked with trying to use it with just regular vinyl, and I actually had to go in and simplify it. So I kept removing some of the colors, simplifying the colors, taking it less and less detailed, and I was losing the image that I really wanted, but making it a little bit easier to use with regular vinyl, regular heat transfer vinyl. So from my experience, I had to make that decision of if I wanted it to have this kind of detail or if I wanted to make it something that I could do with vinyl. And I liked EasySub because it was an option to be able to kind of do both. I got to have my cake and eat it too, as it were. So I do have an example of that image pulled up here, just a little bit closer. You can see the fine details in the eyelashes and the nose and stuff like that, as well as the colors and just how detailed those all are. So you get a lot with that. And then the placement on the shirt. This one is actually another one that we had done, which is a little bit off-centered because that's where we wanted to have that. But yeah, so you can again see there's a lot of different detail to it and just the intricacies of this. So there's some places where the black is above a color and then somewhere it's behind a color. That became very difficult to do that. So that was pretty cool. We haven't actually washed these yet, but from other stuff that we've had, some different shirt designs that we've done, it does hold up to that wash test as well. I believe we have one last video, which is actually going to be one that we've received a lot of questions on. And this one is going to be for the Sublijet versus EasySub. So I'm going to turn off the webcam and get into this video just to make sure that it's a full screen kind of thing for you guys. So this one is going to be really comparing and showing you if you're using Sublijet HD ink or EasySub ink, we wanted to show you guys as blatantly as we could that you really can use either ink and get good results as regular sublimation. Because that if you are using sublimation right now, you're probably using Sublijet HD. So we went and we added some text to this image just to make it very self-documenting. So you can see Sublijet HD ink, green star paper, 385 degrees, 60 seconds, 3-bar pressure. Saving those as each individual image, one being our Sublijet HD and one being our EasySub ink. And you can see in the image itself, there's some gradients and there's some shading that you couldn't get with normal vinyl. So that's why we chose this image to kind of make it so it's a very bold image that we could do. So you can see we go in, we're going to print this out for each one. So this one is starting off with our EasySub. It's using the EasySub inks with the Siser EasySub settings, but you're using the Green Star paper. So you want to, again, make sure that you're printing it to the Virtuoso Print Manager. And then you're going to go through that. So once you go through with that Virtuoso Print Manager, it's going to send to that. Pull that over. So that was actually on the other screen. Make sure you're mirroring it whenever you're using a transfer paper. So when you're using the vinyl, you don't have to mirror. But if you're sublimating, you're going to want to make sure you're mirroring that. The Green Star paper uses TruePix paper settings. And again, making sure that you're mirroring that image so that way you're getting the result that you want. That's all you have to do for this one. Again, this is the EasySub inks that we're doing first. So you're going to see that. We're going to send it to the printer. It's going to process and send that all out. And we should have some footage of that printing right here. So again, this is going to be your printer with the EasySubli inks, and that's going to come out. And then we're going to do the same thing. So same kind of process that we're going to be setting up, but we're going to be doing it with the Sublijet HD inks. So obviously we don't go to the other file that we have and load that one up. And I'm actually going to get some products here to help demonstrate this just a bit. They're the products that were behind me, but I should be able to take some of these and show them to you guys just to really show the difference there. We will have pictures available online as well on the US Cutter website for this. Green Star paper is a paper that we use for sublimation from US Cutter. It works really well. Again, you're using those TruePix settings, you're mirroring your image. And this time we're just doing it all with the Sublijet HD. So this is actually a different printer that we're using, printing with those Sublijet HD inks. So this one was actually out in a different room. So we printed that one, and this all printed out, quick and easy. And we also wanted to show you guys pressing this to some photo panels that we had. So we took some photo panels, lay those out. We take each image. So I believe we started with the EasySub and then went to the Sublijet HD. But we'll show that in just a second. So again, you're going to press it 385 degrees, 60 seconds, low pressure on these photo panels that we're using. And we just wanted to show you guys, and what we're going to show here is that there really isn't that much of a difference in how these products ended up turning out. For anybody that has a webcam, I'm also going to kind of show the some of the photo panels and stuff that we have from some other stuff. But again, you're going to see the Sublijet HD ink and the EasySub ink, Sublijet HD on the left, EasySub on the right. There really isn't that much difference. These are both on there, sublimated into the photo panel, and they look great, honestly. There's a little bit, if you really look close, you can see there's some different kind of shading with the Sublijet HD. It does pick up that shadow, like the shadows a little bit better. But depending on your image, it's going to be very much kind of up to you if that's a good thing or a bad thing. And images of this are a little difficult to tell than when you do it in person. But at the top here, you're going to see that this is the Sublijet HD ink. So SJH is that panel. And the bottom is the EasySub. And because of the lighting, it can be a little difficult to tell. But like that's a full color chart. It's actual like pictures and stuff like that. There's some differences in the shadows, some differences in the shading, but that's really the only thing you're ever going to notice. And as far as that goes, it's very much personal preference as to which one might be better or worse. Again, so we did some mugs. This mug is actually our Sublijet HD mug. So you guys can see that. And then this is our EasySub mug. And then if I just take them both side by side, making sure I'm showing the exact same as much as I can. But you can see the images are very, very, very similar. You can really only tell if you're looking very closely that there is a difference in the inks. Okay. I think I can turn it over to Joe if you're ready. I should probably put my headphones back in so I can hear you. But Joe, are you still here?
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. You're good.
Sorry, I was just responding to a question.
Oh no, you're good. I'm gonna turn it over to you if you wanted to show the Green Star paper. And as we do that, we could open it up to questions, but that's up to you.
Yeah, sure. Sorry. No, again, just doing a question real fast.
Oh, you're
okay,
fine.
so let me get this camera back on. Okay, are we working?
There. So you should have presenter options there too.
Okay, screen. All right, awesome. Okay, so yeah, like Haley was showing, that was a great thing to be able to see, because for us at Siser, it is a big question we get over and over again about what would be the difference about sublimating outside of the EasySubli with the EasySubli inks, and what would your results look like compared to the standard Sublijet HD inks. So Haley, that example was perfect, and that was a great look for me to see what the two side by side were. Because again, for what we do at Siser, all we do is manufacture this EasySubli heat transfer vinyl. So the rest of the equipment stuff, when it comes to the sublimation printer, the inks, the various substrates outside of the EasySubli product, that goes outside of what we do. So working with US Cutter is something that they do really well with is the sublimation world. So it's a learning experience for us as well. So a big thing that we wanted to try out, and like Haley was talking about with the Green Star paper, and this was an experiment on our end. So US Cutter sent me a pack of the Green Star paper that was just shown, and this is sublimation paper. And about 4 years ago, I made a video on YouTube about showing sublimating on our white glitter heat transfer vinyl. So this is an example of our white glitter heat transfer vinyl. This is actually the rainbow white. So this is the standard glitter heat transfer vinyl you may be used to using, where you do cut in reverse, heat apply it, and then it's good to go. But what I showed in the video about 4 years ago was that you are then able to take your sublimation paper transfer, which I have ready to go on the Green Star paper, printed out my image and or your pattern. So here I just have a standard gradient pattern that I showed you with the print directly to the EasySubli. Now, as mentioned though, this is key. And what I showed in the beginning is the application setup for the EasySubli, if you are printing on the EasySubli, is 311 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. Now that's if you're printing directly onto it. So now what I'm going to show you are two examples of doing the two-step process, which is here I have my cut piece of the rainbow white glitter heat transfer vinyl, and here is just a cut piece of the EasySubli that I did not print on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of those, press them with 2 sheets of the Green Star sublimation paper that we're talking about. Now I'm going to switch it over to the heat press view. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to move same garment as what I pressed earlier. I'm trying to do this, my headphones can only go so far, but I'm going to press this garment. This is, and remember, this is 100% black cotton. So if you're not familiar with sublimation, this is something you'd never be able to accomplish with the process of sublimation on a cotton, let alone a black cotton. So I have my heat press is set to 385 degrees. I'm going to press this for 45 seconds. Now this is the important thing to remember. Now I'm going to lay both these down. This is my glitter transfer. Now with the EasySubli transfer, I do not want to lay this down with this backing, because remember, the adhesive side is on this side, so you need to make sure you still get it off of this backing. So here I'm just going to peel this off. And I'm going to lay this down onto my cotton t-shirt. I got to take these off. Hopefully that is lined up correctly. Okay, so use a cover sheet. I'm going to tack these both down for 1 second. Now again, I'm at 385 degrees. I'm going to peel the carrier of my glitter off. So now I have both transfers on there. I'm going to take my green star paper, my sublimation paper, simply lay it over both my glitter heat transfer vinyl and my EasySubli transfer. Now, with this process, I'm going to press this for 45 seconds. So this just shows you the difference in results or what it's going to take in order to do this two-step process.
And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to continue asking them in chat. With that, we should be able to answer those as we go through.
Absolutely.
We will have a dedicated time for some just Q&A back and forth, as well as some other details that we'll go over as far as some of the giveaway stuff and things like that we're going to be getting to. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely stick around.
Okay. So I'm going to peel both these off. And there you go. Look at that.
It's very nice.
Hopefully this color sets. These fluorescents don't show it as nicely as it actually is, but if I switch over to the other camera, I'm going to try. Hopefully you can move over to this. But there you go. It's a little bit of a better look at too. What the transfer of doing the two-step, and that is on the white glitter heat transfer vinyl, and then this other side is doing the EasySubli process with the two-step process. So that is laying down the EasySubli first and then laying that green star sublimation paper over it, and then right underneath it is just simply simply the print. That is print directly onto it and then heat apply at 311 for the 15 seconds.
I just want to clarify to anybody that's curious, sublimation, the process does not work into cotton. So you're actually sublimating into the vinyl here and not the cotton, and that's why when you just lay the transfer paper over top, it's not putting the image, it's not putting the color or anything like that into the cotton of the shirt. If you did that on a 100% and a white piece of polyester, like 100% polyester, then you would have to be worried about the sublimation going into the shirt. So be careful with that. That's for if you're applying to some kind of cotton or some kind of like darker blend, stuff like that. If you are going on to polyester, you're going to have to contour cut for both of those just to make sure that you're not putting it into the shirt itself. But that's depending on how you want to do it.
And you can contour cut these papers, the sublimation papers, especially on a silhouette or a cricket. They're made to cut card stock and paper and stuff like that. So sending these with the registration marks on it to do a contour cut the same as you would with the EasySubli or the white glitter heat transfer vinyl. That way it will make it a lot easier for you to line the two up and not worry about the excess ink being adhered to the garment. Now again, like Haley said, sublimation's not going to work on a cotton t-shirt, but in this case, it's not only 100% cotton, but it's black. So you can't see the excess ink that would have been on this garment. Now, if you would have done it on a 100% cotton white shirt, you would see the excess ink on there, but it doesn't mean it's going to last forever because, again, sublimation process is only for polyester fabric in white color, or white or light color, I should say.
So one good question that was just asked was, how long ahead can you print out before you press? that's something that I do like to address just in general. And I'll put up my webcam, I guess, just to be fair. So I like addressing that because it's something that happens with every sublimation. So every sublimation design that you do, you're going to want to make sure that you're printing it very close to when you're going to be pressing it, because just the nature of sublimation inks, as time goes on, they are going to fade a little bit. So if you guys saw Joe at any of the trade shows, I saw him at the All Things Silhouette. There were a lot of things that they did as examples that didn't seem quite as vibrant as they might have been if they were just a very fresh design, and that's because they were printed ahead of time, brought to the show as examples. But some of the stuff that we were then able to use and print and do ourselves, even as some of I mean, I'm wearing one right now. I guess my hair is probably covering it, but like that ended up very vibrant, as you saw from the images that we showed, and that's because we printed it, we cured it, and then we pressed it all within the same time period. There's no shelf life that I know that we have defined yet for it, but it's always just going to be best practice to print soon to when you're going to be pressing.
Yes. And yeah, to be fair, like Haley said, that was one of our own personal live and learn experiences. Again, we're new to the sublimation game as a heat transfer vinyl manufacturer, but what we learned and what happened at the event we were at, I made a bunch of make and takes, and I have one of the examples here. This make and take I made about 400 of these, and I printed this design. I printed it about 2 weeks before the show so that I had them ready to go. Printed them out, sent them 2 weeks in advance, and they sat around for about 2 weeks. And then when I went to go press them, I noticed that the color vibrancy was about 60% less than what it was supposed to be. And then what we just noticed in learning from other sublimators is that, I mean, ultimately, when you print on a sublimation substrate, the ink is exposed, and until it is cured by the heat of the heat press, which actually bonds it or makes it part of that fabric, it just has a tendency to turn into the gas and leave, and the color kind of fades out of it. So I have an example here, one of which is, and hopefully you can see it, but here you can see it's quite muted. This is the one that I literally just printed for you, and then this is one that I printed 2 days ago. And I don't know if it's easy to tell on a webcam, but the color vibrancy within just 2 days, I can see that this print is already starting to gas out of the color a little bit. We don't, unfortunately, have an exact duration because there's a lot of other variables that play a role into preserving your print. But we've noticed that if you keep it within the 5-day max mark, you'll still get the real result you want. Like Haley said, we're really just hoping that it is kind of a print and apply. As soon as you print it out, you do apply it. I understand there's circumstances where you may be heading to an event, you want to have a bunch of transfers pre-printed so that you can press them on the spot. If you do, just try to make that the last thing you do before you head out. I definitely don't advise doing the 2 weeks because the results were kind of night and day from what they should have been.
And that should happen with any sublimation that you do, so it's not just exclusive to the HTV. Joe, there was one question that asked if there was if the two-step and printing it onto the vinyl like that, or if it was more vibrant when you were you printing it directly onto the vinyl, if there was any difference in the vibrance, or if it was the same level. I know the image can be a little difficult to see via webcam, so if you have any insight into that.
Now, honestly, there isn't a huge difference, I guess, to the naked eye. Like, if you really started nitpicking about the results, and this all depends on the color scheme, in particular overly saturated colors such as reds, anything in the magenta line basically is where you may or may not notice a difference between doing the print directly onto the two-step process. And what I've noticed is that the two-step process tends to yield a better result in that aspect. But I think for the most part, the real benefit is the other side, where it's being able to print on it directly and not having to worry about doing 2 steps, and then also a very low heat application. That way you're not keeping your press at a very high setting. Because if you're like me and probably a couple of the other people in this group right now, you're probably using other heat transfer vinyls and not just this. So if you're doing a bunch of heat transfer vinyl applications, your heat press is already set to the 311 degrees we use for all of our other heat transfer vinyls. So if you're on the roll like I am of doing multiple things at once, you don't need to worry about taking your press from 385 back down to 310 degrees. So, I mean, ultimately, like I said, there really isn't a drastic difference. I would say the difference is about the difference of what you showed between the Sublijet and the EasySubli inks and the results, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I do want to mention, I know we're running out of time, but there was a question about the benefits of this new process. And I think there's a lot of different stuff here that could be touched into that, because it does touch into a lot of different things. So not only are you getting, as Joe mentioned, your cotton, 100% cotton or blends of cotton even, you're getting your colors, so you can do things on your reds or your blacks or any other color that you normally wouldn't be able to sublimate to, as opposed to just if you're using an HTV. Yes, you'd be able to put an HTV onto polyester if it was black, or onto cotton if it was black, but the thing you're missing compared to EasySub, like I mentioned with the unicorn design that I have just right here, when it gets really complex, you're not going to be able to do that. The other benefit is if you're doing text and wanted to do like a custom camo print or something like that, and maybe you don't have the money for one of the wide format printers that could, feasibly do a custom print that you could then cut out and apply yourself through just your basic kind of vinyl. This gives you that option of, if you wanted to do a custom camo or a custom tie-dye or something just different that you normally wouldn't be able to do with regular vinyl, this gives you that option that you can then put onto those different kinds of clothes or materials or anything like that. The other cool thing with EasySub is that, as you kind of saw, you can take this stuff. So this is actually the Sublijet HD onto a pillow, but you can do the same thing with EasySub inks, and that's going to give you some pretty cool results too. So you can see like this one's EasySub inks, and honestly, to the point that we didn't actually mark these, and I consistently forget which one is which. Like, there's a slight difference in that this one actually flattened because of the person that printed it messed up the print. That's the only reason we know which one is different. So it ended up working out. That's our self-documentation there.
Yeah.
And literally ever since then, we've started marking them with EasySub or Sublijet HD, just so we know which one's which, because if it's a color like that and there's not those gradients or really like pronounced shadows, you can't tell. And that's something that we found out as we were testing it a bunch.
And that helps out. Again, that helps us out a lot, because obviously why the inks came out was because we came out with this heat transfer vinyl that we made. So we were just trying to find a harmonious way for the product to be or for it to be a smooth process and everyone to have the right equipment. But again, we knew we were coming into this where people had a plethora of different setups that they still wanted to use this product. So to see results like that, and for you guys to showcase those outcomes, Haley, I think is a big benefit for a lot of these viewers, to be able to see the two, because we here at Siser, we don't really have too many things readily available for that. Like right now, this is our only sublimation machine we have, and it's already set up for the EasySubli. But I just want to go back to the quick part of what you were saying, and the big reason why this product is kind of groundbreaking product is mostly, number one, our focus was for a lot of our market, which is mostly the craft market, to be able to have an option to do multicolor images, print and cut, without going into the world that we also cater to, which is the large format, which I know a lot of your viewers may already be in the large format, where they're using a latex printer, or maybe eco-solvent or solvent-based printer. And now we're talking about a startup that's, somewhere in the $15,000 range. Now this setup I have right here, and where somebody can start doing something that is print and cut, multicolor, is a setup of somewhere in the $700 to $800 range for everything I have here. So this is also kind of catering to those people that want to start out with that option. Now it's also opening up doors that for people that have been doing sublimation forever and a day, that now they want to offer something to expand their business.
So I think, so we are at time here, so I do think we should start wrapping up. I have a couple things that I wanted to address. I didn't actually get into it, but we did have a handout that'll be available. It's on our website on the EasySub stuff and all the files with that, but it's also, I can pull over to here really quick just to show you guys what I'm talking about. So you guys should be able to see this coming up on the screen now. So we have a frequently asked questions. It's going to have a lot of different questions. There's 11 here. So like working with different printers, is it actually sublimating, stuff like that. So these are all questions that we asked Siser, and we got our, perspective back from that. So we wanted to make sure that we were addressing any concerns that you guys had. There's an FAQ section that's going to be available in a handout after the webinar. And it's also on our webpage. So if you have any questions about that stuff, some of that might be answered here if it wasn't answered in this video, but also feel free to reach out to us. A couple things that I wanted to mention on our end. If you reach out to sales@uscutter.com, they're going to be able to answer a lot of your questions about EasySub. We're also offering a small version of the peace sign that you see back here as a kind of sample. So if you ask them about that, they should be able to help you with that. I want to thank Joe for being here with us because this was a little impromptu. We saw a lot of questions and we wanted to make sure we were getting out here to respond to those as quickly as we could and make sure that people knew what was going on and what to expect with EasySub, because there were a lot of questions and there was a lot that was going on with this. I clicked the wrong thing there. But yeah, so I just want to thank Joe for being here with us today. It was really great to have you.
Thank you, US Cutter. Thank you, Haley. Thank you, Addis. Everyone that helped organize this whole event. Let us know. Is this helpful? Would you want more of these? Stay tuned. That's again from our end at Siser. We try to help our partners, our users of our products and stuff the best we can. So if there are more questions, I know we probably weren't able to scratch the surface on the amount of questions that came through, but again, we only make the heat transfer vinyl that we showed today. So when it comes to any of the other equipment we're talking about today, whether it's these printers, whether it's the inks, whether it's stuff like that, it's when we do like to have that camaraderie with our own distributors like US Cutter that are a little bit more knowledgeable in regards of those kind of technical questions that you may have. So, of course, we're here to help the best we can, and we have our own support. So you can always contact us if it's about our EasySubli product, and we're happy to help any way we can. We do have our own YouTube channel where I do a bunch of tutorial videos on there. So we try to help as much as we can, but US Cutter is definitely where you're going to want to head to inquire about what you may need and how to get your hands on it as well. So I thank you again. I'm very humbled to be a part of this today. And yeah.